I have faith that you can't lose it. I have faith that you can't find it. I have faith that you don't need to travel to arrive at it. I have faith that it's impossible for you to travel and get away from it. That's where my faith lies. So the invitation's pretty easy to offer because you're really not offering much, basically. You're offering nothing, literally. Yeah, and if people have been coming here for a while, they call me up after 7 years, well, how's it going? What's happening? Is there anything new? No, there's nothing new. It's the same. Allie's been here a long time. Same, just going same message. Because it's an invitation, and you are the party you'd like to get invited to, so to speak. Yeah, you're it. I mean, literally, not you're it as an idealized conceptual thing, but as an activity. See, if you think it is a thing, you're going to miss it, yeah? Because we're missing it right now because we're taking this activity as a thing. We think it's Paul, a body, yeah? That's how we miss it. You can't see this. You're seeing, yeah? You're the seeing, but you can't see this. You see? You are with what you're looking for, but you're not what you're looking for as a thing, or a better thing, or a future thing, or the absolute thing. You are really here an activity, basically. Yeah? An activity. So we're trying to see an activity as a thing, and the only way we could do that is to conceptualize it, objectify it, so we miss it. We miss that we are what we're looking for because we believe it should be a thing, yeah, like a solid, better thing than this, let's say, or a solid, super thing called a no thing, but still sensed as a thing. But it's an activity. Yeah, you intimate it by I should record this too, just in case none of this works. You intimate it by the seeing, by you're the seeing of what's happening. You're not the seer of what's happening. That's frozen. That's frozen once again. It freezes the seeing into an object, yeah? So, and it seems so subtle, but it changes everything. People say, I'm the seer of everything, but that's not it. It's seeing. It's more a sense of activity here because it's in manifestation, and the activity implies the stillness it sort of comes from. Yeah, but you can't, like it says in an old Zen saying, a famous Zen saying from Faith Mind, you can't use activity to produce stillness. That would be activity. Yeah, so you can't use we're manifesting now. We're in activity. And if we attempt to use activity to produce stillness, that's still activity, yeah? But the activity, seeing that, having the sense of the seeing is how you by seeing what you're not, that's how you recognize in a way what you are. It's hard to put in words because the words always imply a subject-object or a noun and a verb, yeah? The language is very handcuffy type. But it's a more of a, see, here, right now, consciousness is displaying, yeah? Seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. It's not displaying as a seer, feeler, taster, toucher, smeller. It's expressing as a seeing, a smelling, a tasting, touching, yes? But how the mental state reacts to the seeing and the hearing, the feeling, it immediately believes the seeing implies a seer, yeah? Or like consciousness, the sense of seeing as consciousness implies the one who's conscious to the mental state. That's it, that's the mistake, yeah? So right now, what we are is expressing itself, but we're trying to pick it up by what we're not, yeah? And the only way what you're not can make sense of what this is, what? Is by giving it name and form. Yeah. So it's not the sense of consciousness is all there is. It's the interpretation I'm conscious. I as some fucking thing is now conscious. It's like the biggest heist of all, because it takes your own identity or your own nature, which is seeing, and it implies that there's a noun involved. And then suddenly the noun becomes the fixed reference, and now we can go as insane as this. The noun, the seer, will now look for the seeing. But what's looking is what you're looking for. You know what I mean? And we can't seem to get over that hurdle, because there is no hurdle. It's once you're taking the position to start the race, the position's off. Yeah. So you're trying to find what's seeing through the seer. That's the blindness to the seeing. The blindness to the seeing is when it's interpreted as seer. That's how we're blind to it. And we seemingly are blind to it because we're walking around all day being what we're looking for, but not believing that. Yeah, I like that news. I like to hear that, but how do I get it? How do I get it as what? A noun. Well, the noun isn't going to get the verb, because it's going to use the verb to imply the noun. That's what it does. When a noun claims a verb, it uses the verb to imply the noun. So seeing is now used to imply the seer. That's why our direct evidence of being awake is being hijacked to imply that we're someone that can be awake or not awake. Yeah, it's the exact thing that demonstrates our awakeness all day with no thought of effort. We're not going to like consciousness calisthenic classes. Yeah, we're not working out our consciousness, are we? We're not like seeing and hearing. None of that's happening. We're just using it all day to promote a story about what's happening here. It's the whole base. It's like the page where all our stories written on. So, and then in some crazy stories, that page will be what we're all looking for. But it will fill tons of pages of a story to find that which is the page. Wouldn't that seem insane to you? You're using that which you're looking for to write the story of being the one who's looking for it. Without that correction, it's pointless. That's why we never go anywhere else. Why is there any need to go anywhere else if anywhere else will just echo that sort of mistake? That the seeing is now taken to be a noun. Yeah? And then the absurdness of it, the noun will start looking for the seeing. When what it is, it's that what's looking is what you're looking for. Yeah? How could that be? I'm busy looking for something called what's looking. Why the hell can't I find it? I found that favorite stereo I wanted. I found the greatest latte. I found a girlfriend. Why can't I find what's looking? Because you are it. You're not the latte. I mean, I did tons of cocaine. I never thought I was cocaine. I never turned into cocaine. Never. There was a demarcation. No matter how loaded I got, I never thought I was cocaine. Ever. I didn't like make my bed up like a bindle and slip in there and hope someone was going to buy me for $30 or something. You know? Never. What is that stubbornness? That stubbornness is what keeps promoting the story of being a someone instead of what's looking. Because the statement isn't who's looking. It says what's looking. The what sort of, obviously the use of the word what implies it's not an individual. It's not long lasting. It's not separate. It's what. Yeah? If it's who's looking for what's looking, that can go on for ages, obviously. That who's looking will go on lots of retreats. I mean, pages after pages of the exact of what you're looking for will be used to hold the story of looking for exactly that, the page. I'm looking for the page. How am I looking for the page? My whole story is written in tons of pages, but I'm looking for the page. What page you're looking for is the page you're on. What? Oh, yeah. You mean, is that it? Yeah. It doesn't evolve into a... No, it doesn't. It's always available at all times right where we are, with no requirement necessary. It sucks in a lot of ways. For the story, it sucks. There's nothing the story can work with, you know what I mean? Fuck. I climbed a mountain and there was the old sage. No, that's out of the picture. I circulated a statue for 800 times. Fucking, you must have been tired after that. You know, I traveled across 3 continents to find it. Well, jeez, you must like traveling. I mean, if you were looking for that and you were traveling as that, it would pretty much ruin your like travel blogs, wouldn't it? The whole idea of its specialness is that it's not available at all times, right where you are, really. I mean, spiritual shoppers would not go for the baseline of conscious contact or, you know, the basic dog shit awareness because everyone else could have it. It's not as special as I want it to be. I have to do a lot of pranayama and hyperventilate, pass out not once, like 4 times, but I also have to pass out in like sacred grounds where Jesus once supposedly passed out. Pass out. Oh, it's happened. That sounds a lot better and has a lot more traction on social media if that's the beginning point. That you are that which you've made into something very special to look for. You end up in a little room like this in Marin City instead of a retreat in Hawaii. There's no gourmet little snacks. I'm not drinking like triple percolated organic tea. No, I got some water and... Who is going to travel to Hawaii for this if they thought they were that? Or if they really sensed that they were that? Maybe they'd go to Hawaii because they like to go there, but they definitely wouldn't have it, and it's all made up anyway. Primary reason to go to Hawaii, to find the master. Fuck. What happens if you are the master? Then you even know you don't even have a reason to wake up, and yet you still wake up every day. You start realizing this little story of Paul has really nothing to do with the story of Paul. It really doesn't. And you don't need to have it aligned with your plans because you are what you're looking for. How hard does that get to? How long does it take for that to sink in? You are what you're looking for. Either you get it or you don't get it, but the fact is, you are what you're looking for, yeah? How long would it take for that to dawn? No time at all. When would it possibly be available to happen? At all times. Is there any requirements to fulfill for it to already be so? No. That's fucking boring as hell to the mental state, isn't it? Why do you think this whole dream is going on? Because we don't want to accept the obviousness of it. We want to make it something that we can go after, you know, that it's going to add great value to us, all like that. If you really sense what it is, you'd be totally chilled out. Yeah, your pursuit of happiness would become like a stroll. It's just like this feeling right now. It's like a period and then there's nothing after it. And there's nothing before it. It's just a pause. You just sense the pregnancy of awakeness. Yeah? Not even doing what it is, it's being what it is. And anything that be's what it is usually doesn't exert any thought or effort into being what it is. Yeah? Consciousness is not exhibiting any thought or effort to be conscious, is it? We're seemingly fucking exerting a lot of thought or effort to be conscious because there's a sense we're something else first, yeah? And so the being conscious is actually a goal that we're going to arrive at by doing a lot and having a lot, or not having a lot, you know? And then suddenly, hopefully, if we do it the right way and continually do it the right way and are vigilant about it, maybe, just maybe, we will be what we're looking for a very short period of time, because the conditions will change. And therefore, the absence of it will make it even more special to try to arrive at again. And so another journey is, you know, backed, and there you go. You're off to find what you're looking for. Yeah. Like it says, St. Francis just saves you time, because in the mental state, it would be you and I are looking for what's looking. Sounds like it's a thing. What's looking? It's not in Las Vegas. What's looking? What's looking? We're all busily looking for what's looking. Let's go. How are you doing? I don't know. I think I'm way ahead of you. I'm closer to finding what's looking than you are. And all the while, we all that which is what's looking. Yeah. It's like the Special Olympics. Everyone's got the gold. It's all a charade. Everyone wins the gold. Yeah, it's all. And then get on with what's happening, I guess, you know? If the meaning that's been given to things got stripped off, maybe things wouldn't seem so difficult. Yeah? Because it's obviously not the things, it's the meaning that are given to the things. And the meaning that are given to the things through the idea of being a thing are very binding. Like it says in Recovery, we have a statement, please relieve me of the bondage of self. Yeah? So, you know, in Old English they would say Robert of Duke, you know, Mary of Pennsylvania. So obviously Mary came from Pennsylvania, or Peter from Poland. So Peter came from Poland. Yeah. So from Poland, Peter issued forth, so to speak. So the bondage of self is exactly that. See, if it was a thing to a thing, it would be bondage to self. But bondage of self is that self is the producer of the bondage. Without self, there is no bondage. Yeah? So please relieve me of the bondage of self. Now, how can self produce bondage if there is no self? It can seemingly produce if what is true becomes identified as a self. Now suddenly, it's sort of like that what is true, like a hand moves into that glove of self, and suddenly everything that hand touches is now interpreted through the glove. Yeah? So now things that are totally impossible, if there's a sense of self being the real deal, they become possible in this dream. So it's the bondage of self. So self's the Petri dish, and one of the many, many splendid things that can grow in the Petri dish is bondage. So that which can never be bound, if it becomes identified as a thing, suddenly has tons of experiences of being bound and unbound and bound and unbound. Yeah? All made possible by it, because it's the only reality, but by it through the identification as a thing. As soon as the thing becomes solid, and this which we are takes ourselves to be that, then bondage becomes a possibility here. So we're trying to get out of bondage, but we're not questioning the self that produces the possibility of bondage. And if there is no self and it's an impossibility, then that impossibility, if the cause is impossible, its effects are impossible. Yeah? But while you're trying to get out of the effects, you'll be getting out of the effects as that which is the true impossibility. You'll be trying to get out of bondage as a self, only to get back bound by something else. So you meet a woman and she frees you, and then 2 years later you're bound to her, let's say, yeah? And you couldn't wait to get out of the situation. So all these possibilities start happening, yeah? So then, but the self stays immutable. You're just taking it to be true, and therefore it goes through these, it's like shedding skin and unshedding skin. There's bondage, unbondage, only to be more bondage. Because the real bondage isn't bondage, it's self. The identification as what you're not. That's it. That's what gives legs to this dreaming. And this is not a dream, in my humble opinion. And I mean humble opinion. A dream would be a thing, and then there'd be another thing in a dream. This is dreaming. It's an activity. It never comes to pass. Everything is happening, but nothing ever happened. See? Everything is dreaming. There's all verbing, but no noun. All the verbing does not become a noun. There's dreaming, so there must be a dream. No, there's dreaming. Yeah? There's feeling, there must be a feeler. No, there's feeling. There's seeing, there must be a seer. No, there's seeing. There's tasting, must be a taster. No, there's tasting. Yeah? The conscious contact occurs, the mental state arises, claims to be the one in conscious contact, and then the verb gets translated into a noun. And then now all other verbs are given direction by the noun. So now life's happening to me. You don't see it? It's unbelievably clear. It's dreaming. It could never come to pass, but it can seem to be happening. And that's the whole premise. It's appearing to be true or false to us. We're like the hose before the too hot and cold. The water is neutral. Oh, you turn this, it's hot. You turn this, it's cold. Yeah? It's same. It's just like energy, like faith. Faith is a power of mind, very neutral, just possible, and it's going to manifest by the vehicle it's put in. So here a lot of us are in the activity of believing in the thought system. So now that power that we represent, which is faith, it's totally neutral, could go either way. If it's put in that vehicle, it's going to produce anxiety. It's going to make up a lot of shit out of what's not happening. And it's going to feel like it's going to have such a feeling of being real, it's going to override actually what seems to be happening now. Isn't it? What would happen if the faith didn't go down that hot thing, went somewhere else? The same energy would produce totally different effects. Maybe now the faith would produce an ease and comfort in your own skin without any evidence that you should be easeful and comfortable. Yeah, you wouldn't need it. You would outshine circumstances, situations. You wouldn't be defined by circumstances, situations. You'd outshine them. And it wouldn't be a 3-year class you took. It's a byproduct. It's an effect of the mind shifting. None of the shifts that are described in spirituality, like all these beautiful descriptions in Zen, aren't produced by effort. They're results of a shift. Yeah. The faith is not going into the thought system anymore. Therefore, you're not struggling to be here as if it's a possibility you could be not here. You realize it's totally insane to believe you could be out of a moment. You've never been out of any moment. And there you go. Now suddenly you have an immunity yesterday and tomorrow, which you could never fucking acquire. Through all your work and psychology, it just becomes a byproduct. Something is noticed or seen, and then a lot of effects or a lot of fruit occur. Yeah? And then you eat the fruit, and you know the fruit, but you know the tree by the fruit. You go, Jesus Christ, I'm traveling lighter. All those years I took those seminars, how to be in the moment, they were totally fucking insane. Because every moment I was trying to be in the moment was implying and reinforcing this insane idea I could be out of a moment. I never knew that. I never knew that I never knew that it was me that was spoiling the nest, so to speak. Yeah. My mind wanting to get in, it's out. It implies I believe I was in. That's it. Yeah. That's why you can never get out of an imaginary place. Because it's imaginary. The only way to get out of it is to realize you were never in it. And how long does that take? No time fucking at all. You don't need a ladder or a rope. You were never in the hole. That is, when you have that fruit in your life, you're sitting under the right fucking tree. It's simple as that. Because when the seeming expressions of the solution that are being entertained where you are demonstrate no time to be fulfilled and no requirements to be met, then you're on to something. Why not just fucking sit underneath that tree? So we're attempting to see what we are from like a noun. That's why we're missing it. See, if you were a verb, you'd realize everything you're seeing is what's seeing. Yeah? But as a noun, you look at it totally differently. Yeah? What's one to do? Try to change that all from the noun's point of view, or just see if you're the noun or not. If you're not the noun, all bets are off. To me, that's like when you start seeing blue is blue and red is red. The horse is in front of the cart. Things make sense. You don't have metaphysical questions anymore. You have questions like, where are my keys or something. You're not looking for the meaning of the universe. None of that comes up at all. You're totally freed from the need to be liberated. Totally. You've totally lost interest in all these modalities of liberation. Because you're not that which needs to be liberated. What you are does not need to be liberated. What you are not needs to be liberated from itself. But it's trying to get liberated from itself as itself. It's fundamentally flawed and it will never correct itself. If the system proceeds off of that basis, it's never going to correct that basis. Self's never going to get out of self. The Buddha is never going to find the Buddha. The light's never going to find the light. Mind is never going to find mind, ever. It's hot in here. It's like a little humid, I think, today. My fragile condition doesn't like these changes, a barometer and stuff. Very sensitive apparati. Not around other people's feelings, but I mean, very sensitive concerning my own condition, seemingly. So it's a simple invitation, man. I dig it because more and more gets revealed. Because of the seed assignment, I imagine. And, I'd love to go into a big thing about time, because time is just unbelievable. And it's not, and when you say it, it sounds like it's a thing called time. There's no time. It's an activity of the dreaming. We're at the source of it, but it is the greatest influence of everything in here, in this dreaming, is time. Watch everyone driving, it's time. All their reactions to people on the road is all time. If you don't have anywhere to go, everything looks cool. If you got somewhere to go, everyone's an obstacle. You know what I mean? You don't see, do you need that many examples to see your role here? I mean, obviously. Isn't that taking it back like, Jesus, I'm giving everything all the meaning it has. It wasn't like Wednesday, there was an extreme amount of traffic for Paul Hedderman, and Tuesday there wasn't. No. It's Paul Hedderman wanted to get somewhere, saw everything as a threat to that being delivered. When it was not looking to go anywhere, it was nice to stroll, nice drive. Yeah. One example should tell you the whole enchilada, yeah? You entertain one, it just immediately, like the Course would put it in very, very concrete statements. You and I give everything all the meaning it has. It uses two complete statements, everything and all, so there's no wiggle room. So hopefully, see, that invitation, you can't fit this into the envelope to respond. See, it's recognizing you're not this, which allows you to really totally agree with that statement. If you're trying to agree with that statement as this, it's not going to hold water. It'll hold water at meetings or when you're sitting at home, but it won't be holding water in your traveling. Yeah, because that which you're not is going to try to grok it and try to use it for an advantage. This envelope, this cannot go in the mail slot of what we are. And remember, we're not talking to anyone here about the message. We're talking to Big M Mind about you. Because how many people have shared and they try to share it to you about mind? Where the fuck did it go? Nowhere. You got to speak to mind about you. Because when mind wakes up about you, when you try to wake up to mind, it's pointless. But when mind wakes up to you, that's freaking good. That's going to produce a lot of effects here. Yes? When mind realized, hey, I may not be that. Oops. The cat's out of the bag. When the cat in the bag keeps pointing out, goes nowhere. I mean, how many meetings have you gone to? Thousands of them. How many freaking things? Because it's always been you trying to get somewhere. But speak to mind. And when you entertain, mind entertaining, not the thought system, mind entertains, big M mind. And when it entertains the possibility it's not this, then suddenly a new possibility dawns finally in the clear format that it's always been available as, which is I can be free from it. That has not been allowed to enter the system of self-centeredness because you're identified as this, and the only way you can entertain freedom is as this, for this, and it's really from this. That's what works, yeah? So just question, Ramana Maharshi put out Who Am I? Actually, it was way before them, probably from the Vedas. And that Who Am I is a nice little wrench you can throw into the mental works. Because it's obviously, it uses time, the mental state, if you watch it. Its main movement is to claim, yeah? So it claims what came before it, and it implies that it's before that. So now you feel like you're conscious. That's all a trick, a mental trick. The mental process arises after the conscious contact, and it implies when it arises, it's before the conscious contact. That's what it does, yeah? The mental process is a bunch of compilation of thoughts, which it uses to imply that through thought, that it's something other than a thought, it's the thinker. But that's a thought. So now thoughts is just giant compilation. They're one that seems to have been presupposed to a very high position of being the thinker. It's a thought. It's no different than all the other thoughts. Yeah? It's just what the mind does with it is different. The mind takes itself to be a noun, the thinker. Yeah? Now the thoughts can own the thinker because they're my thoughts. Your thoughts don't bother me that much, but if the same thoughts were held as mine, they could probably ruin my day. Isn't it true? How could you say it's just thoughts? It isn't thoughts. It's how we're receiving. Each one of us, if we're in relationship to thoughts as the my of them, they seem to have a lot of power. If you see maybe you're not and they're just thoughts, they seem to lose power. Where did the power come from? The thought? No, the power came from us. We gave it all the meaning it had. You can take a few snippets of how every day goes, just take one little bit of it, and really the whole enchilada is revealed if you just look at it. You can see that something that comes after is presupposed to be before, like Ramana Maharshi says. There's a presupposing of a non-existent thing that wants to get salvation for the non-existent thing. That's it. Yeah? The presupposing means when it's assumed that you're a non-existent thing, it's not assumed now. The assumption is it is before. Yeah? So all that came before it, it now leapfrogs over it and says, I'm the one who's doing it all. When it's just an activity, yeah? But this activity implies it's the one that's doing all the other activities. And therefore it gets treated in an exalted way. It uses all the other activities to reinforce its little reign or its little fucking kinghood, yeah? But if you just saw it as another activity, which it is, you'd just see what happens. See it as an activity, not as you. Stop looking from it and see it. There are all the hints in all the books. Ramana Maharshi, Huang Po, they're all saying the same thing in a way. You cannot use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. So if you find yourself seeking the Buddha, there must be a sort of a mistake in place, because why the hell would Buddha seek for itself if it's being itself, I mean, really. I mean, it wouldn't do it as a mistake in a sense. Oh, maybe it is. So you just mention, hey, Buddha, you're looking for yourself. What? Oh, all right. That's 800 volumes of scriptures would have stopped ever being written. What? Oh yeah, that's it. One little statement. Four words. Hey, Buddha. What? And then what would happen if the Buddha isn't seeking the Buddha? What would be happening? There'd be a recognition or a sense of being it, yeah? Being that which you seek. If we make it into something we want to find, all we can do is get to know it, maybe have an experience that we attribute to it, which had nothing fucking to do with it. You know, we're in the vicinity of it, yeah? But we can never allow ourselves to entertain the possibility we are that, because we're busily entertaining the possibility we're not that. Yeah? Which one has to go first? You've got to look at what you're not. And there's no need to look for what you are, because you are that, yeah? You're being it right now. So this methodology has no method. It questions the need of methodology. Yeah? It questions the idea of time, using time to arrive at the timeless. It's questioning the idea of using thought and effort to arrive at that which shows no thought or effort. It questions, and it just brings into light the total absurdity of a lot of activities we think are very noble and very pure and very elevated and gilded and been 5,000 years, but there's a mistake hidden in there. It's like the same little virus is put in it all. Yeah? There'll be a sense of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity that wants to get salvation for itself. It's easily corrected because it can never happen, and there you go. How long does it take to correct an imaginary problem? None. There isn't like, okay, now that I'm clear about that, let's build the better beat. No, there's no building. There's no adding additions. There's no turbocharging. It's just dog shit awareness, being awake to being awake. Yeah. You're never not in the room it's in. You're not waiting at the door. You're that which you're looking for at the door. None of it, all the time constraints and all the ideas of it being distant and special and infrequent are dismissed with no effort or thought on your part. These just happen. It's like the leaves, just when the weather changes, they drop their leaves. They're not I gotta drop 500 leaves today. You know, the leaves just drop based, you know what I mean? They just slough off. It's sort of like that. They're not in a demand. I've got to drop 500 leaves. That one, he's dropped 483 already. No, this is it. Just drops leaves and grows again. The basic premise hasn't changed. It's a tree, yes? So, yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm going to dance today. Maybe I'll sweeten the pot as we pass the donation thing. All right. Is that good enough for you, Pete, from Poland?
I think that's good enough, yeah.
Oh, that's good.